Welcome to Some Guy's Garage. I've got the Xmaxx back on the bench here, and it's a new tire day. These are the original tires that came with the Xmaxx, the original ones. They've been all right. There's nothing per se wrong with these. They haven't shredded themselves yet. I have gotten water into them and drilled little holes to let some of the water escape, and that worked out well, so they stayed balanced. But they're constantly coming unglued, and I'm thinking they're going to start tearing soon. You can see I've re-glued them in spots a few times now. If you have a closer look at some of these. But recently, Traxxas had the Sledgehammer tires on sale, which are the newer style tires for these. They're a little bit bigger, but I figured I'd give them a try since they were a little bit cheaper right now. So I have new tires. Got one set, they're not going to run away on me, and a second set. So I figured, well, I've got them here and I'm going to take the other ones off. We can do a quick comparison between the two. I'll get the weight and sizes and all of that for you guys, just so you can see the difference between the newer Sledgehammer tires and the older original Xmaxx tires. So I guess first things first, I'm going to pull the old tires off and then we can take a look. Okay, so 17 mil on an impact, fastest way to take these off. Just a quick little buzz, the nut comes off and you can just push the tire off the hub here, hopefully. Sometimes takes a little wiggling if they're a little tight there. There we go. So one tire off and I'll just repeat with the rest here. And we'll get the Xmaxx out of the way here. All right, so old tires here. So you can kind of see here where they're starting to separate and they're a little curb rash on them, but I've also tried to glue these a few times and they do just keep coming undone. Glue is just regular super glue. You don't have to get special tire glue per se for these, but you clean it up and then squeeze a bunch of glue in there and put them back together, and sometimes they stay. But that is the old set of tires. Get these out of the way and we'll get some new tires opened up. So they come in 2 packs, the new tires here, the Sledgehammer tires. They are the 7774G, G being the green. Since I have a green Xmaxx, I decided instead of the black rims, I'll do the green rims this time. And these tires come pre-glued, ready to go, so you don't have to do anything else to put them on your vehicle. You don't have to glue your tires or put foam or any of that in them. They're already set up, ready to go. And of course I got 2 packages, so we'll open up the other ones here too. So just taking a couple of the tires here side by side, you can see they are a little bit bigger. Just overall diameter is a smidge bigger. And then width-wise, and we'll get some measurements here, but width-wise they are also a smidge wider. Same sort of design though, the rims themselves, like all the hex in them and all of that sort of stuff is the same. You can see even on the measurements here, I'll just turn these around. These are 8x4x4 and these are 8.4x4.3x4. So like I said, just a little bit bigger, like that's the diameter and that's the width. A little bit bigger diameter, a little bit more width on the new Sledgehammer tire. And I guess the other thing to look at is the tread patterns are different. So these ones have a kind of bigger, blockier pattern to them in the middle, whereas these are a little flatter and not as knobby. So hopefully these actually give you a bit more grip than these ones would. These might work better on pavement, but in dirt, mud, snow, anything like that, these might work better. We'll see if these have a little more grip on non-paved surfaces. And one other thing to be aware of with tires is the weight. The heavier a tire is, the more stress on the drivetrain it's going to be, especially with higher gearing. So if you're trying to go for top speed or anything, that's going to put a lot of stress on the motor. So just have a little kitchen scale out here and we can do an actual weight measurement. So Sledgehammer tire, 680 grams. We'll see how consistent these are. 679 within a gram. 673, so a little bit lighter on that one. And then lastly here, 676. So fairly consistent, couple a little lighter, couple a little heavier, but within a couple grams. Then comparatively with the old tires, now keeping in mind these have been used, they've gotten water into the treads every now and then. They should be fairly dry, but there might be some moisture, and obviously there's going to be some wear on the treads. But these are 601 grams, give or take. Take a look at all of these just to see what they are. 602. 619, a little heavier on that one. And finally, 616. So as you can see, the tires here are around 60 grams, give or take, a bit lighter, the old tires versus the newer Sledgehammer tires, but we're not talking a super heavy tire, so it should be less of an impact on the performance of the vehicle, beyond the fact that they're a little bit bigger, which effectively increases your gearing. So this will give me a little more top speed than the old tire will, but at the expense of some acceleration. All right, and we'll just put the tires back on the truck now. Little dab of blue Loctite just to keep the wheel nuts from falling off here. A little dab there. Slide a new tire on and making sure the hexes get aligned. You'll see as they slot in here. There we go. And a nut. And we'll just run that down snug with the impact. I'm going to tighten them after with a real wrench. So just so they don't come off. Do that again up here. Hopefully this one doesn't give me as much trouble. A little bit of blue Loctite. And then again, get this tire on here. That one went on nice and smooth. And we'll get that nut started. Down. Around here. Little bit of blue Loctite. There is already some on here, but just another dabble. Make sure that they don't come off. Get that wheel on. And then just a standard ratchet with the 17 mil, and we'll snug these up. You don't want to go too tight, just nice and snug. You are metal onto a plastic wheel, so if you overdo it, you will break the wheel. So just enough to snug them up fairly firm, but not too tight. All right, there we go. Xmaxx is on new tires and looks pretty good actually. We'll take it out for a run here and see how it does. And there we go. First run out on the new Sledgehammer tires. Overall, they seem pretty good. I didn't have any blowouts or issues with them. They do balloon like the other ones do a bit, so they expand out. They're not belted tires, which gives you a little more control in the air, although I wasn't that great today. But yeah, overall, pretty solid tires. Decent grip, slightly better than the old ones, especially in the loose snow like that, but not a huge improvement. They're not paddle tires or anything, but happy enough with the upgrade and performed quite well. If you have any questions about the Sledgehammer tires or the Xmaxx or anything else, let me know in the comments below. If you aren't already subscribed, please consider it. And as always, thanks for watching.